Hey everybody, I'd just like to make a short video on how to install a set of travel limiters on a set of progressive 412 shocks. I lowered the bike and I'm bottoming out the fender with the back tire. So I was looking for videos, couldn't find anything on this, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. So some of the things you're going to need to do this project: you're going to need a progressive shock tool to take it apart, a set of snap ring pliers, and you'll need the travel limiters themselves. I actually have two sets here, a set of 1/4 inch, model number 305013, and 1/2 inch, model 305014. And I'm going to actually use multiple combinations of these to get the ride height correct, and you may have to modify that for whatever you need for your application. So let's go get it going. The first thing you're going to need to do is take off the rear shock of the bike. You're going to need to support the bike first, either by using a car jack like you see here, or using a motorcycle jack. You're going to use a set of basic sockets to take that off. You're going to want to jack the bike up a little bit first. I'm going to put a block of wood under the back tire. That'll make sense later. Bring the bike back down to the wood, and then remove the shock. Then bring it to your bench. The next step is to disassemble the shock. You're going to need the progressive tool for doing that. Looks like this. And what you're going to do is, you're going to put this hook on here, drop the bronze piece over the top, fail, cancel. You're going to start off with the protective ring that goes on the top of the shock. Then you're going to put the hook on, then the bronze piece, and you're going to need to put the wrench on. That takes it off. And what this is going to do is, it's going to pull up on this piece and push down on this so you can remove the ring on the inside. So let's get that going quicker. Exciting. Once this is compressed, the center piece will come out. This is the retainer, and we're going to let the tension off the spring so we can take the cover and the spring off the shock itself. Now I have just the shock with no covers on it. So now I've reinstalled the shock back onto the bike. We need to figure out how many spacers we need to do the job. Remember that piece of wood I put underneath there? It's going to come into play right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the actual bump stop and push it as far, and push it as far down the shaft as I can. Easily one-handed. That's good enough. That was a struggle. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the jack down all the way. You're going to watch. This is going to push the bump stop all the way up until the tire hits the bottom of the fender. That should set where my bump stop is at max. And then that space in between where that bump stop ends and there is what I need to fill with spacers, plus maybe about a 1/4 inch. That'll push that down in the right location, so the ride height, so the tire will stop about a 1/4 inch from hitting the bottom of the fender, which is what we're looking for. So I'm going to let the jack down, and that piece of wood is going to make sure that the tire pushes up into the fender all the way, and that it's not just bottomed out on the jack, being down all the way. And it's going to look something like this, nice and slow. So that's down all the way, and the jack is free. So at this point, this is at the location it needs to be for the fender to be tight, touching the bottom of the tire, or the tire to be touching the bottom of the fender. So I need to fill this space with spacers, plus I have to push this down about a 1/4 inch from there to make up for it so this isn't dragging. And that should fix it. So let's go install that. What I'm going to do now is jack the bike up just a little bit. You see how it gave me a little extra, took the tension off of it? Now I'll be able to remove that. And we'll go back to the bench. So I came back to the bench and I'm measuring it out, and these are 1/2 inch spacers, and just easily putting 2 on like this, that's a full inch of travel I need to limit. But that only gets me to touching the fender. That doesn't get my tire off the fender. So I actually have to add another 1/4 inch. So I have to actually add 1 1/4 inch of spacers in here to get my tire off the fender. So that's what I need to do. So I actually need 2 of those 1/2 inch spacer kits and a 1/4 inch spacer kit. On my application, you'll adjust accordingly to what you need. So let's get to installing these things. So I'm going to show you how to put 1 on, and the same process goes for all 6, which should be on mine 3 on each side. But I'll show you how to put 1 of the limiters on there, and then we'll put it all back together. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take the bump stop and slide it all the way down and out of the way again. Give you plenty of room to work. So that's all pulled down now. So now I've got all the space right here to add my 3 stops. I'm going to lay this down on the bench. I'm going to grab my snap ring pliers with the C-clip that goes on there, and I'm going to install that onto the shaft like that. It's on the shaft. Then I'm going to grab my 2 1/4 inch pieces. I'll start there, doesn't matter which ones I use, and they're going to go on the shaft. And then I've got to do the wonderful process of trying to get this onto that. I'm sure there's tricks with screwdrivers and all sorts of fun things, but let's see if we can do it with these. And I've not done this yet, so there's 1/2. Now the other half. I swear these are the wrong pliers. So here's a shot of what it looks like installed for one of these clips. You can actually kind of see they're a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you can get them if with a little persistence and everything. I'm going to put the rest of them on right now. I'm beginning to figure out that the easiest way to do these is to first get the clip on the shaft like that, flip it over so that the splitter is up top, get the other pieces in place on the opposite side of what I'm working on, actually, I'm sorry, on the top. And then you start opening it up and sliding it into the top. Like that. Looks easy, huh? So here they are all installed. You've got your 1/4 inch spacer, half-inch spacer. Then you've got your washer, your bump stop, and your shock. Just remember, we're going to have to slide these down a little bit, because this is also going to be going in between this location. So we're going to reassemble the shock and then reinstall the shocks back onto the bike. When we reinstall the shocks back on the bike, we're going to lube both the locations with a little bit of oil or some sort of silicone based lubricant, just so that that stays moving, and your bike will be back to riding normal without bottoming out the tire. And especially if you're dropping the bike for looks, yeah, you're going to bottom out. It's not a question about it. But at least you're going to not eat your tire up inside your fender. So let's go reassemble the shock and see what that looks like back on the bike. So reverse what we did to take it apart. So I almost have the shock back together. I put the tool back in, got it all compressed partially. I'm going to compress it the rest of the way, show you guys. And what I didn't show you last time, and again wanted to show you that spacer, fits just in like this. Fits in after a little more compression. Fits right in like this. And then you're going to let the pressure out. Make sure this is what it looks like. Here's that split ring. Make sure it seats properly. We'll let the tension off the spring compressor. And then we just take it the rest of the way apart. So now we have a completed spring with the travel limiters put into it. It's ready to go back on the bike. Well, here it is all installed, and what I did is I set the suspension to super soft, so now it's time to go for a test drive. You can see it's been lowered so that the fender matches the tire line a little bit better. These aren't the factory fenders on top of that, so all the clearance issues I got by putting tighter fenders caused me to rub the tire on the inside, caused me to eat a whole tire last season. So this is the easiest way I think to do it, other than trying to go with solid struts but still maintain some suspension. And again, when I'm riding alone, it's usually not a problem. It's when I'm two up that I usually rub. So I'm gonna go find some bumps and see if I can make this thing bottom out, and hopefully the tire doesn't touch, but everything I just did should help that from happening. So if you have any questions, please email me or go into the comments, and we'll go from there. Good luck.